I have the pleasure of having a conversation really about the union. And we all talk about the union and have for years and years and years. I started doing this in 1992, working right after the initial public authority legislation was passed. And I really want, part of my goal here is to put a face at the other end of that word, the union. This is Rebecca Malberg. She's from SEIU. This is Jovan from UDW. And I want you to know a little bit more about them as people, and then I want to give them your questions. People have been giving me questions for the whole conference, and let them talk about those issues that are so important to each of you. So with that, I'm going to ask Rebecca just to take a few seconds to talk about herself. And Jovan has already talked about himself a little bit, but if he wants to add anything to that, he can. And then we'll do some questions.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I don't often get the opportunity to talk about myself. So my name is Rebecca Malberg. I'm the Home Care Director at SEIU, United Healthcare Workers West. And it was interesting to hear more about me, and Janie asked me to talk about why I do what I do. So I'll tell you that the short version of the story I talk about often is that my great-grandmother was a textile worker in New York City, and she, as part of her, on her volunteer time, tried to organize the union. And one of the reasons that she was so engaged is, the conditions, obviously, in the textile factories in New York at that time. And she switched jobs to go make 2 more cents an hour doing ladies' blouses and not children's blouses. And she left the Triangle Shirtwaist Company 3 days before the fire. And so, it has been instilled in our family that what you need to do is make sure conditions are good for people regardless of the work that they do. And so that has always been how I was raised. And so to me, my job is a gift. I get to work every day with people who struggle to take care of people who they love. Whether or not they're related to them, they love them, and they love the work they do. So my job is to help other people who love their work do their job, and that's why I love my job.
Thank you, Rebecca. You want to say anything else?
Very briefly, I just want you to know, I sort of come at this from a totally different perspective. I didn't grow up in a labor household. I didn't grow up in a household that was very close to politics. So one of the things that I just want to inject in this line of work that I'm now found myself in is honest dialogue. I call myself a straight shooter. If you ever want to know anything, just come ask me. I'm going to tell you how I believe things are. The other thing I feel there is a right and a wrong to things. A lot of people don't believe that. Some people say, well, there's a couple of rights, or that's his perspective, her perspective. I think there are rights and that there are wrongs. So if you ever want anything, or if you ever need to know anything, ask me. Even if you're an SEIU member, if you're not a dues-paying member to our union, feel free, if you run into me in the halls of the Capitol, ask me a question. I don't do the green shirt, the purple shirt stuff. So to me, it's not about that. To me, it's about helping people get to where they need to get and to be educated.
Oh, thank you, Jovan. Listen, I can't miss this opportunity to tell you a teeny bit about myself. I come from not a labor household. I come from a family with 17 siblings, and my dad and mom both were extremely anti-union. But I always feel like I've been organizing since I was out of diapers, because I was the third oldest, and we were all the time organizing against my parents because they always wanted us to do horrible things. I mean, hard work, not horrible things, hard work. And now, of course, I appreciate all the hard work they made us do. But I have to tell you that just because I think Rebecca's story is wonderful, and so is Jovan. So let me do the first question. We have heard that the governor's budget includes an increase in reimbursement for nursing home facilities. Given the devastation proposed for IHSS, will you oppose the increase in funding to nursing homes? Who wants to go?
I think this is what Jovan was saying before about how the Republicans win. They say, what do you want? You want food stamps or you want IHSS? You want nursing homes or you want IHSS? Do you want this thing or that thing? And they make us fight amongst each other for crumbs. We need to not fight amongst each other for crumbs. We need to oppose cuts in IHSS, and we need to make sure that we have a long-term care system that is well-funded. All our hospitals, our nursing homes, and IHSS should be well-funded and be able to provide quality care. We can't fight amongst each other for a shrinking piece of the pie. We have to work together to expand the pie. So we are adamantly opposed, as Jovan said, to cuts in IHSS, and that's where we have to work together to move forward this year.
I would just like to add on to Rebecca's statement. I agree with everything. I'm sorry, I apologize. I agree with everything Rebecca just stated, but I will add, in addition to that, that I will oppose increased funding to nursing homes if it comes at the expense of IHSS.
Yeah, that I don't disagree with that. Yeah.
All right, very good. Nice short responses. That's very good. Knowing the financial burden with the cost of fingerprinting, would the union be willing to help providers with the cost?
I mean, it's up to you.
You know, it's a little premature to sort of have that discussion, I feel. Our fight right now is trying to get the law undone. You know, we fought from the start to ensure that providers or recipients wouldn't be charged for criminal background checks, and I'm not willing to let go of that fight yet. You know, again, we talked about the strategy not letting Democrats off the hook, identifying our friends and foes, and that this is one of those situations where our friends put forth a budget that says providers and recipients should have to pay for criminal background checks. So I'm not willing to let go of that fight yet. I'm sorry if that doesn't answer the question, but I'm not willing to let go of that fight because I believe answering that question means that I may have given up the fight that I'm currently fighting.
I agree with that. And I would say the job of the union is to make sure the worker in whatever workplace they work in gets a benefit package and a wage package that's appropriate. And so, you know, our goal is, you know, fighting in our contracts to make sure people get wages and benefits. We have put into some of our contracts, we've bargained since this law, which we are fighting to undo, was passed to get the public authorities and the counties to pay for background checks. But it's not about the union providing benefits. It's about the union making sure that the employer provides adequate benefits to people who are doing the work.
Okay. I think we're good on time. I haven't seen any pink cards yet. How can...
It's a long one.
This is a long one. How can a statewide union for IHSS workers make sure that specific emergency help is provided for IHSS workers whose paycheck is delayed, for example? How can we make sure that small but real concerns of workers really get the attention needed in the face of many of the concerns going on?
I mean, I would say the late paycheck issue is something we have been hearing a lot this year, and what we have been doing is, you know, engaging our members in going to the public authority and going to the county and making sure these issues are addressed. I think we in this room need to be clear that although we are fighting on IHSS, which is where we should put our resources, the reduction in county staff and state staff who staff this program also hurts this, and when paychecks don't get processed, it's because the county has cut resources on the other end as well. And so our job is to advocate and fix the problems that our members bring up, and to do so by organizing our members into action. So we will pursue whatever is necessary to make sure that people are, for example, getting their paychecks on time, and we will figure out why these problems are happening and then fix them.
Rebecca, the first line, how will a statewide union affect that process? Do you think that?
I mean, I think there are 3 unions in SEIU and UDW, and each of us does the same work, which is to represent members when these issues come up